Clara read, Hawthorne stood in the shadows of the small town. Her heart raced as she and her gang prepared for the robbery. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows on the dirt street. Clara was known for her cunning. She had earned her place as a leader among outlaws. Today was another chance to prove her power. Her gang consisted of 3 men. They were loyal but reckless. Clara had learned to trust them, but she knew trust was a fragile thing. She looked at Jake, her second in command. He nodded, ready to follow her lead. She felt a surge of confidence as they moved toward the bank. Inside the bank, the air was tense. Clara shouted orders. The townspeople froze in fear. She moved quickly, collecting cash from the tellers. Her heart pounded with excitement. This was her world, where she felt alive. But as they finished, Clara noticed something off. Jake was not at her side. She turned and saw him standing by the door, a strange look on his face. Before she could react, he pulled a gun. Clara's heart dropped. Betrayal stung her like a sharp knife. The other gang members shouted in shock. Clara shouted for them to run, but it was too late. Jake's men burst in, guns drawn. Clara fought hard, but bullets flew. She was hit in the shoulder. Pain shot through her body. She staggered, trying to stay on her feet. Jake laughed as he stepped back. He had set her up. He had planned this all along. Clara felt rage and disbelief. She had trusted him, and now he was leaving her for dead. The chaos grew louder. Clara's vision blurred as she fell to the ground. The last thing she saw was Jake's face, a cruel smile on his lips. Darkness closed in around her. When she woke, Clara was alone. The bank was silent, the only sound her ragged breathing. She lay on the cold floor, the pain in her shoulder sharp and unforgiving. She struggled to sit up, her body weak. Her mind raced with thoughts of revenge. Clara knew she had to escape. She dragged herself toward the door, each movement painful. Outside, the sun was bright, and the world felt distant. She crawled into the wilderness, desperate to hide. The trees surrounded her. Clara felt the cool earth beneath her. She tried to push away the fear and focus on survival. She had survived worse. She had faced danger many times. But betrayal was a new kind of pain. Clara pressed onward, ignoring the blood that soaked her shirt. The wilderness was harsh. She stumbled over rocks and roots, but she kept moving. Memories of her past flashed in her mind. She remembered her family, lost to tragedy. The pain pushed her forward. She had no choice but to survive. As night fell, Clara found a small cave. It offered shelter, but she was still in danger. She wrapped her arm with a torn piece of her clothing. The wound throbbed, and she felt weak. But she refused to give in. She had to find help. Clara lay against the cave wall, her thoughts racing. She remembered the life she had chosen. She had become an outlaw to escape her past. But now, that choice felt heavy. She had lost everything. The night was silent, filled with the sounds of the wilderness. Clara closed her eyes, hoping for strength. She was alone, but she still had her will to fight. The pain in her shoulder reminded her of her betrayal, but it also fueled her determination. Just before dawn, Clara woke. She felt a spark of hope. She would not let Jake win. She would find a way to survive. She crawled out of the cave, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The sun rose slowly, and Clara moved through the trees. She was weak, but she pushed herself. She knew she had to find help soon. The wilderness was full of dangers, but she had learned to navigate it. As she walked, she thought about her past. She thought about the family she had lost and the choices that had led her here. Every step was a reminder of her pain, but it was also a chance for redemption. Clara spotted a ranch in the distance. It looked small and lonely, but it was a chance. She had to take it. She moved toward the ranch, her heart pounding. She knew she was taking a risk, but she had no other option. With each step, Clara felt a mix of fear and hope. She was an outlaw, but she was also a survivor. She would not let her past define her. As she approached the ranch, she took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. This was not the end for Clara read Hawthorne. It was only the beginning. Clara moved slowly through the rugged landscape. The sun rose higher, but she felt the chill in the air. Her shoulder throbbed with pain, reminding her of the betrayal. She pushed herself to keep going, driven by the need to survive. The land was harsh and unforgiving. The ground was rocky, and the bushes were thick. Clara stumbled more than once but caught herself each time. She could not afford to fall. She needed help. As she walked, she remembered her past. Clara had not always been an outlaw. She had come from a small town where she had loved and lost. Her family had been everything to her. But after their deaths, she turned to a life of crime. It was a choice made out of pain and anger, Now, as she fought to stay alive, she wondered if it had been the right choice. Clara's thoughts were interrupted by a rustling in the bushes. She froze, her heart racing. Wild animals roamed these woods. She had faced them before, but fear gripped her. She took a cautious step back. Suddenly, a rabbit darted out, and Clara let out a breath she did not know she was holding. But the moment of relief was short-lived. As she continued, Clara felt weakness creeping in. The blood from her wounds soaked her clothing. Each step drained her strength. She needed to find water, food, and a place to rest. The sun began to set. Clara's legs felt like lead. She knew she had to keep moving. She spotted a small stream nearby. It was not much, but it would give her the strength to continue. She crawled to the water, cupping her hands to drink. The cool liquid soothed her dry throat, and she felt a small spark of energy. After drinking, Clara searched for food. She scanned the area for berries or anything edible. The hunger gnawed at her stomach. After a while, she found a few wild berries on a bush. They were small and tart, but they would do for now. As night fell, Clara found a safe spot to rest. She leaned against a tree, the cool earth beneath her offering some comfort. The stars twinkled above, a reminder of how far she had fallen. In that moment, she was not just an outlaw. She was a woman lost in the wilderness. The night was quiet, but Clara could not sleep. Thoughts of Jake haunted her. He had once been her trusted ally, but now he was her enemy. She wondered if he would come looking for her. The thought filled her with dread. She needed to be ready. As dawn approached, Clara awoke to the sound of rustling leaves. She opened her eyes, alert and tense. She scanned the area, ready for anything. To her relief, it was only a deer grazing nearby. She watched it for a moment, taking in its grace. The sight reminded her of a life she longed for, a life without fear. Clara pushed herself up and continued her journey. The sun rose higher, warming her skin. She felt stronger with each step. The wilderness was still dangerous, but she was determined. She moved forward, ready to face whatever came next. After hours of walking, Clara spotted the ranch in the distance again. It seemed closer now. She felt a mix of hope and fear. What if the rancher turned her away? What if he recognized her? But she had no choice. She had to take the risk. As she approached the ranch, Clara's heart pounded. The place looked small and modest. A few cattle grazed in the field, and a barn stood nearby. It was peaceful, a stark contrast to her chaotic life. She hesitated at the edge of the property, unsure of what to do next. Clara took a deep breath and stepped forward. She walked slowly, trying to appear non-threatening. She needed help. She looked around, hoping to see someone. Just then, a figure emerged from the barn. The man was older, with weathered skin and tired eyes. He looked surprised to see Clara. She could sense his hesitation. He was a rancher, and she was an outlaw. But she was also a wounded woman in need. Clara raised her hand slightly, trying to show she meant no harm. The man studied her, his expression unreadable. She felt vulnerable under his gaze but pushed through the fear. She had to ask for help. "Please," she said, her voice weak. "I need help." The rancher took a step closer, still cautious. Clara could see the worry in his eyes. He looked her over, taking in her ragged clothes and the blood on her shoulder. "What happened?" he asked, his voice low and steady. Clara hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. "I was attacked. I'm hurt. I need a place to rest." The rancher considered her words. Clara could see the struggle in his mind. She felt a surge of desperation. She needed him to understand. "I'm not a threat," she insisted. "I just want to survive." Finally, the rancher nodded. "Fine. You can come to my cabin, but you'll have to earn your keep." Clara felt relief wash over her. He was willing to help her. She followed him, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. As they reached the cabin, Clara felt a strange sense of safety. She knew she was still an outlaw, but maybe, just maybe, she could find a new beginning here. Clara stepped inside the cabin, her heart still racing. The rancher closed the door behind her, shutting out the harsh world. The cabin was simple but warm. A wooden table sat in the center, and a small fire crackled in the hearth. Clara felt a flicker of safety, but she kept her guard up. The rancher gestured for her to sit. Clara hesitated before taking a chair. She winced as her shoulder throbbed. The rancher noticed and walked over to the fire. He grabbed a cloth and some water. "Let me take a look at that," he said, his voice calm. Clara felt a mix of relief and fear. She was not used to accepting help, but she nodded, knowing she had no choice. The rancher approached her with the cloth. He gently examined her wound, his touch careful and steady. "It looks bad," he said, frowning. "You need proper care." Clara felt vulnerable under his gaze. I can't stay long. I need to keep moving. The rancher looked up, his eyes serious. You won't make it in your condition. You need rest. No one is after you here. Clara wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She had pushed herself too hard. Thank you, she said softly, feeling gratitude stir within her. As he cleaned her wound, Clara studied him. He was older, perhaps in his late 40s. His hands were rough from years of work, and his eyes held a depth of experience. She wondered what had brought him to this lonely life. I'm Eli, he said, breaking the silence. What should I call you? Clara, she replied. Clara Hawthorne. Red Hawthorne? He asked, surprise crossing his face. Clara tensed at the mention of her nickname. She was known as Red in the outlaw world. Yes, but I'm not that person anymore, she said firmly. I just want to be left alone. Eli nodded slowly. We all have pasts. I won't judge you for yours. Clara felt a weight lift. She appreciated his understanding. As he finished bandaging her shoulder, she felt a sense of trust begin to form. It was unfamiliar but welcome. Can you tell me what happened? Eli asked, his tone gentle. Clara hesitated but knew she needed to share. I was betrayed by someone I trusted. I thought I could escape that life, but it caught up with me. Eli listened carefully, nodding as she spoke. Betrayal is a hard thing to bear, he said. I've lost people too. His words resonated with Clara. She looked into his eyes and saw the pain there. You lost someone? She asked, curious. My wife, Eli replied, his voice low. She was sick. I couldn't save her. Clara felt a pang of sympathy. They shared a bond in their losses, even if their paths were different. I'm sorry, she said, meaning it. Eli waved his hand as if to brush it off. It was years ago. I've learned to live with it. He paused, studying her. What do you plan to do now? Clara's heart sank at the question. She had no clear answer. I don't know, she admitted. I can't go back to my old life. I just want to heal and figure things out. Eli nodded, understanding her struggle. You can stay here for as long as you need. I could use the help around the ranch. Clara hesitated. She didn't want to be a burden. I don't want to impose, she said. Eli shook his head. You're not an imposition. You need a place to recover, and I could use a hand. It's a fair trade. Clara thought about his offer. It was tempting. She could rest and heal. Maybe she could find a new purpose here. Okay, she said finally. I'll help. Eli smiled, a warmth spreading over his face. Good. We'll start with some chores tomorrow. For now, you should eat. Clara felt her stomach rumble at the mention of food. Eli went to the small kitchen area and began preparing a simple meal. The smell of cooking filled the cabin, bringing a sense of comfort. As they ate, Clara felt a sense of ease. They talked about small things, life on the ranch, the weather, and the daily routines. Clara found herself laughing at Eli's dry humor, something she had not done in a long time. After dinner, Eli cleaned up. Clara offered to help, but he insisted she rest. You've had a long day, he said. We'll have plenty of time to work together. Clara felt grateful for his kindness. As night fell, she sat by the fire, watching the flames dance. The warmth spread through her, and she felt a sense of peace settle in her heart. Eli joined her, sitting across from her. They shared stories, finding common ground in their pain and hopes. Clara felt a connection forming, something she had not expected. As the night wore on, Clara began to relax. She could see a glimmer of a new life in this place. Perhaps she could leave her past behind and start again. When Eli finally stood to head to bed, Clara felt a twinge of sadness. Thank you for everything, she said softly. Eli smiled, his eyes kind. You're welcome, Clara. You're safe here. Clara felt a warmth in her chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope. She was still an outlaw, but here, she could be something more. Here, she could begin to heal. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of birds chirping outside. Sunlight filtered through the small window, casting a warm glow in the cabin. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her muscles from sleeping on the rough bed. Her shoulder was still sore, but the bandage felt secure. Eli was already up, busy in the kitchen. The smell of coffee filled the air. Clara got out of bed and walked toward the smell, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was a new day, and she was ready to embrace it. Good morning, Eli said, turning to her with a smile. I made some coffee. It should help wake you up. Thank you, Clara replied, taking a cup from him. The warmth felt good in her hands. She took a sip and let the rich flavor awaken her senses. After breakfast, Eli explained the tasks for the day. We need to check on the cattle and mend a fence that got damaged in the last storm, he said. It won't be too hard. Clara nodded, eager to help. She felt a sense of purpose as she followed Eli outside. The ranch was vast, with rolling hills and wide-open spaces. Clara took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill her lungs. This place felt different from her past life. It felt like a chance. As they walked toward the cattle, Clara began to feel more comfortable. Eli showed her how to check the animals for signs of illness and how to feed them. She watched him closely, taking mental notes. Eli was patient, explaining everything in detail. "You're a quick learner," he said, glancing at her with approval. Clara felt a surge of pride. It had been a long time since anyone had praised her for anything. After they finished with the cattle, they moved to the fence. It was a simple task, but it required teamwork. Clara felt the sun on her back as they worked side by side. They talked about their lives, sharing stories that revealed their vulnerabilities. "I used to be a seamstress," Clara said, recalling her past. "I made clothes for people in town. It was a simple life." Eli nodded, intrigued. "And then you turned to a different path?" Clara hesitated but decided to be honest. "After my family died, I lost my way. I wanted power, and I thought being an outlaw would give me that. But it only brought pain." Eli listened intently. "It's hard to find your way back after losing everything," he said. "I understand that more than you know." Clara looked at him, surprised by his openness. "What do you mean?" "My wife died, and I fell into a dark place," he admitted. "I pushed people away. I thought I could handle it alone, but I was wrong." Clara felt a connection to his pain. They were both searching for a way to heal. "How did you find your way back?" she asked. Eli paused, thinking. "I started working the land again. I had to keep going for her memory. It wasn't easy, but it helped me find purpose." Clara admired his strength. "I want to find my purpose too," she said softly. "Maybe this is the start." Eli smiled, and Clara felt something shift between them. There was a bond forming, one built on shared pain and hope. As they finished fixing the fence, Clara felt a sense of accomplishment. She had worked hard, and Eli had been by her side every step of the way. They looked at the finished fence, satisfied with their work. "Not bad for a day's work," Eli said, wiping sweat from his brow. Clara laughed, feeling lighter. Afterward, they returned to the cabin for lunch. Clara helped Eli prepare sandwiches, her heart feeling full. She was beginning to enjoy these simple moments. Over lunch, they continued to share stories. Eli spoke of his past, the joys and sorrows he had experienced. Clara listened, fascinated by his life. She felt grateful for his willingness to open up to her. "Do you ever think about what you want for the future?" Eli asked, looking at her seriously. Clara paused. The question hung in the air. She had not allowed herself to think about the future. "I want to leave my past behind," she finally said. "I want to be someone who helps, not someone who hurts." Eli nodded, his expression thoughtful. "That's a good goal. We all deserve a chance to start over." After lunch, they went back outside. Clara was eager to continue working. She wanted to prove herself and show Eli that she could be a valuable part of his life. They spent the afternoon repairing the barn roof. As they worked, Clara felt a sense of joy she hadn't felt in years. She was not just surviving, she was building something new. Eli's presence was comforting. He was steady and kind, and Clara found herself drawn to him. She appreciated his strength and the way he treated her with respect. As evening approached, they finished the roof and stood back to admire their work. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the ranch. Clara felt a sense of peace wash over her. "Thank you for today," she said, looking at Eli. "I haven't felt this good in a long time." Eli smiled warmly. "You did most of the work. You've got a strong spirit, Clara." "I admire that." Clara felt her cheeks flush. She had not expected such praise. They stood there for a moment, the silence comfortable between them. As the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Clara realized she was beginning to see a future for herself. Here, with Eli, she could find a new beginning. She could leave the outlaw life behind and embrace something better. With hope in her heart, Clara knew she was ready to face whatever came next. She was not just Clara Red Hawthorne anymore. She was becoming a new person, one who could find peace and purpose in this quiet ranch. Days passed, and Clara settled into her new life on the ranch. She worked alongside Eli, learning more about the land and the animals. Each day, she felt stronger and more at peace. But deep down, a shadow lurked. She couldn't forget her past or the betrayal that had brought her here. One afternoon, as Clara and Eli were mending a fence, they heard the rumble of horses approaching. Clara's heart raced. The sound was familiar, and it filled her with dread. She glanced at Eli, who looked equally concerned. "Do you think it's trouble?" he asked, his brow furrowed. Clara nodded, her fear growing. "It could be Jake and his gang. They might be looking for me." Eli's expression hardened. "We need to prepare. If they find you here, it won't end well." Clara felt a mix of fear and determination. She had fled from her past, but it seemed it was catching up with her. "What should we do?" she asked, ready to face the threat. "Let's hide," Eli suggested. "We can take cover until we know who they are." They quickly moved behind a row of hay bales near the barn. Clara's heart pounded in her chest as she listened. The sound of hooves grew louder, and soon she heard voices. "Spread out. She has to be around here somewhere," a man shouted. Clara recognized the voice. It was Jake, her betrayer. Panic surged through her. She had hoped she would never see him again. "Keep looking," Jake commanded his men. "She can't have gone far. We need that gold she stole." Clara felt her stomach twist. They believed she still had the stolen gold, and she had no way to convince them otherwise. She glanced at Eli, whose jaw was set with determination. "We need to fight back if they find us," he whispered. "Are you ready?" Clara nodded, her heart racing. She had once been a ruthless outlaw, and now she had to tap into that part of herself to protect her new life. The gang rode closer, searching every corner of the ranch. Clara could see their shadows moving, and the tension in her muscles tightened. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for what might come. Suddenly, one of the men spotted them. "Over here," he shouted, pointing toward the hay bales. "Get ready," Eli said, raising his voice. Clara felt her heart drop, but stood firm. They had to protect the ranch and each other. Jake and his men charged toward them, guns drawn. Clara's instincts kicked in. She grabbed a nearby pitchfork, ready to defend herself. Eli took a stance beside her, his expression fierce. "Stay back," Clara shouted, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. Jake laughed, a harsh sound that sent chills down her spine. "You think you can fight me, Red? You're outnumbered." "Maybe," Clara replied, feeling a fire ignite within her. "But I won't go down without a fight." The tension in the air was thick as Clara and Eli prepared for the confrontation. The gang moved closer, but Clara and Eli stood their ground. Eli fired a warning shot into the air. "Leave now, and you won't get hurt." Jake scoffed. "You think a shot will scare me? You're nothing without your gang, Clara." In that moment, Clara felt a surge of anger. She was not the same person Jake once knew. She had changed, and she was ready to prove it. The gang advanced, and Clara sprang into action. She lunged forward with the pitchfork, aiming for the closest man. Eli joined her, his own weapon at the ready. They fought together, a united front against the threat. Clara's heart raced as she ducked and dodged, her movements instinctive. She had not felt this alive in years. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, and for the first time, she felt empowered. Eli was a strong partner, covering her back as they fought off Jake's men. They moved like a well-rehearsed team, each anticipating the other's actions. But the numbers were against them. Clara could see Jake watching from a distance, waiting for the right moment to strike. She knew he was dangerous and would not give up easily. "Clara," Eli shouted, snapping her attention back to the fight. One of the men had gotten too close, and she quickly turned, using the pitchfork to push him away. With each clash, Clara felt her resolve strengthen. She was fighting not just for herself, but for the life she had built with Eli. Suddenly, Jake charged forward, aiming directly for Clara. She felt a rush of fear, but she stood her ground. She swung the pitchfork, and Jake narrowly dodged it, but it gave her a moment to regain her footing. "Give up, Clara. You'll never win," he taunted, his eyes full of malice. "I'm not afraid of you," Clara shouted back, her voice strong. But she could see the fight was wearing on them. Eli was breathing heavily, and Clara felt the fatigue creeping in. They needed a plan. "Let's fall back to the barn," Eli shouted, and Clara nodded, trusting his judgment. They retreated quickly, moving toward the barn where they could find cover. Jake's gang followed, but as they reached the barn doors, Clara turned to Eli. "We can set a trap." Eli's eyes lit up with understanding. "Yes, we can use the hay bales as a barricade." They quickly moved inside, piling hay bales against the entrance. Clara felt a rush of hope. They had a chance to outsmart Jake. As they finished barricading the door, Clara and Eli exchanged determined glances. They were ready to face whatever came next. "Let's show them we're more than they think," Clara said, feeling the fire of her past reignite within her. Together, they prepared for the final confrontation, ready to defend their lives and their future against the threat of Jake and his gang. Clara had chosen this battle, and she would not back down. Inside the barn, Clara and Eli made their final preparations. The hay bales formed a sturdy barricade, giving them a small chance against Jake and his gang. Clara felt her heart racing but steadied her breath. They had to be ready. "Do you think they'll try to break in?" Clara asked, glancing at the door. Eli nodded, his expression serious. "They will. They think they have the upper hand, but we know this place. We can use it to our advantage." Clara felt a surge of confidence. This was her chance to fight back. She moved to the side, keeping her eyes on the door. Eli stood close, ready to defend her. Suddenly, they heard voices outside. Jake was barking orders to his men. "Get that door open. She can't hide forever." Clara swallowed hard. She could feel the tension in the air. They were ready to storm the barn, and she had to stay focused. "Stay low," Eli whispered. "We'll wait for the right moment to strike." Clara nodded, positioning herself behind the hay bales. She could hear the gang outside, their boots crunching on the dirt. The sound filled her with dread, but she pushed it aside. She was not going to let fear control her. The door rattled as someone pushed against it. Clara tensed, gripping the pitchfork tightly. Eli was beside her, his face determined. They exchanged a glance, silently agreeing to stand their ground. The door creaked as Jake and his men forced it open. Clara held her breath. When the door swung wide, they rushed in, guns drawn. "Surround them," Jake shouted, his voice arrogant. "They can't escape this time." Clara and Eli sprang into action. They leaped from behind the hay bales, catching the gang off guard. Clara swung the pitchfork at the nearest man, knocking him down. Eli fired a warning shot, creating chaos among the gang. "Get them," Jake yelled, but Clara could see panic in his eyes. Clara fought with all her strength. She was no longer the scared outlaw. She was a woman defending her new life. With each movement, she felt more alive. Eli was at her side, his aim true as he fired at the advancing men. They worked in sync, pushing back against the gang. Clara moved swiftly, using the pitchfork to fend off attackers while Eli covered her. But as the fight raged on, Clara realized there were too many of them. She could feel the exhaustion creeping in, her muscles burning with effort. She glanced at Eli, who was also showing signs of fatigue. "We need a plan," Clara shouted, trying to keep her voice steady. Eli nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. "Let's lead them deeper into the barn. We can use the tools to our advantage." Clara agreed. They quickly retreated, drawing the gang further inside. The barn was filled with tools and equipment. They could use anything they could find to defend themselves. As they moved deeper, Clara spotted a loose crate of tools. "There," she shouted, pointing to it. "We can use those." Eli nodded. They quickly grabbed shovels and pitchforks, ready to fight back. The gang followed, but Clara and Eli were prepared. When Jake stepped into the barn, Clara felt a rush of anger. He had betrayed her, and now he was here to finish what he started. "Give up, Red," Jake taunted. "You think you can win? You're outmatched." Clara met his gaze, her determination unwavering. "I won't let you take my life again, Jake. This is my chance to fight back." With that, Clara and Eli charged forward, swinging their tools with fierce resolve. The gang was caught off guard by their sudden attack. Clara struck one man with a shovel, while Eli tackled another to the ground. The barn echoed with the sounds of struggle. Clara fought fiercely, her instincts kicking in. She could see Eli defending himself, too, and they worked together seamlessly. But Jake was still a threat. He pushed through the chaos, aiming for Clara. She saw him coming and ducked just in time. "Stand still," he yelled, furious. Clara quickly grabbed a nearby pitchfork, ready to defend herself. She had become stronger, and she would not back down. Jake lunged at her, but Clara sidestepped him, using the pitchfork to push him away. He stumbled back, surprised by her strength. "Is this the best you've got, Red?" He sneered, but Clara could see the fear creeping into his eyes. "Watch me," she replied, her voice steady. With renewed energy, Clara struck out again, catching Jake off guard. She swung the pitchfork, aiming for his legs. He fell to the ground, his expression shifting from arrogance to shock. Eli took advantage of the moment, moving in to confront Jake. "You've lost, Jake. You can't win this fight." With Jake down, the remaining gang members hesitated. Clara could see their hesitation. They were unsure whether to continue fighting or retreat. "Leave now. Get out of here," Clara shouted, her voice filled with authority. Some of the men exchanged glances, and one finally shouted, "Let's go. She's not worth it." They began to retreat, scrambling out of the barn. Clara felt a rush of victory as the last of them fled. They had won, and she had faced her past head-on. When the dust settled, Clara turned to Eli, breathless and exhilarated. "We did it." Eli smiled, pride shining in his eyes. "You were incredible, Clara. You fought like a warrior." Clara felt a swell of happiness. She had faced her fears and fought for her future. The past no longer held power over her. As they stood in the barn, surrounded by the chaos of battle, Clara knew she had found her strength. She was ready to embrace her new life, no longer defined by her past. Together, they had defended their home, and Clara felt hope blossom within her. She was not just Clara Red Hawthorne anymore. She was a survivor, ready to forge her own path. After the confrontation with Jake and his gang, Clara and Eli took a moment to catch their breath. The barn was a mess, hay scattered across the floor and tools lying about. Clara felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. They had fought hard, but the threat was not completely gone. "Are you okay?" Eli asked, concern etched on his face as he studied her. Clara nodded, though she could feel the weariness settling in her bones. "I'm fine. Just a little sore." Eli walked over to her, his expression softening. "You did amazing back there. I'm proud of you." Clara felt warmth spread through her at his words. She was beginning to understand how much this fight meant, not just for her, but for the life she was building with Eli. But even in her victory, she felt a shadow looming in the back of her mind. Jake was still out there, and he would not give up easily. As they cleaned up the barn, Clara's thoughts turned to the future. She had to confront her past, but she also wanted to build a new life. The idea of Jake coming back weighed heavily on her. "Eli," she said, breaking the silence, "I think we need to prepare for Jake's return. He won't just walk away after this." Eli paused, nodding in agreement. "You're right. We need to be ready in case he comes back with more men. We can't let him threaten our home." Clara felt a sense of purpose. "We should consider reinforcing the barn and the house. If he comes again, we'll need a solid defense." Eli smiled, impressed by her resolve. "I like that plan. We can gather some supplies from town and fortify the place." As they worked together, Clara felt a renewed sense of strength. They were not just surviving, they were building something strong together. With each task, they deepened their bond, and Clara began to see a future where she could leave her past behind. Later that evening, as the sun set, Clara sat on the porch, taking in the beauty of the ranch. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple. Eli joined her, bringing 2 cups of warm tea. "Thought you might want this," he said, handing her a cup. "Thank you," Clara replied, feeling grateful for his kindness. They sipped their tea in comfortable silence, the cool breeze wrapping around them. "Do you ever think about what you want for the future?" Eli asked, breaking the quiet. Clara sighed, looking out at the horizon. "Every day. I want to leave the outlaw life behind. I want peace, and maybe even a family someday." Eli turned to her, his eyes serious. "You deserve that, Clara. You fought hard for it." Clara felt a warmth in her chest. She realized she had begun to dream again. For so long, she had only thought about survival. Now, she could envision a life filled with hope. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Clara felt a sense of calm wash over her. But the relief was short-lived. The memory of Jake and the danger he posed lingered in her mind. "Eli," she said, her voice quiet, "what if Jake comes back with more men? I don't want to put you in danger." Eli took her hand, his grip firm. "We'll face whatever comes together. You're not alone in this, Clara. We'll protect what we have." Clara met his gaze, feeling the strength of his words. "Thank you. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." Eli smiled softly. "You won't. We'll fight for this life. Together." As the days went by, Clara and Eli worked hard to fortify the ranch. They gathered supplies, reinforced the barn, and set up a plan in case Jake returned. Clara felt a sense of purpose in their preparations. But with each passing day, a nagging worry crept in. Clara found herself listening for sounds of approaching horses, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. Her past was chasing her, and she could not shake the feeling that it was only a matter of time before Jake returned. One night, as they sat around the fire, Clara decided to share her fears with Eli. "I keep thinking about Jake. What if he comes back? What if he brings more men?" Eli's expression turned serious. "We'll be ready. But you can't let fear control you. You fought hard to get here, Clara." "I know," she said, frustration creeping into her voice. "But I can't help it. I don't want to go back to that life." Eli reached out and took her hand, his touch grounding her. "You won't. You're not that person anymore. You fought to change your life." Clara looked into his eyes, seeking reassurance. I want to believe that. I want to be someone better. You already are, Eli said firmly. And if Jake comes back, we'll face him together. You're not alone in this fight. Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. In that moment, she realized how much Eli meant to her. He was not just a partner in the fight, he was a partner in life. As they sat together, Clara felt a sense of hope. She was determined to protect the life they were building. No matter what came next, she would stand strong. The night wore on, and Clara found comfort in Eli's presence. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. She was ready to confront her past, knowing she had the strength to forge a new future. With Eli by her side, she felt unstoppable. And for the first time in a long while, Clara believed she could truly leave her old life behind. Days turned into weeks, and Clara and Eli continued to strengthen their defenses. They spent their days preparing for the possibility of Jake's return. Clara felt a mix of fear and determination. She was ready to confront her past, but the thought of facing Jake again made her stomach twist. One evening, as the sun set, Clara sat on the porch, lost in thought. Eli joined her, sensing her unease. "What's on your mind?" he asked gently. Clara sighed, looking out at the horizon. "I keep thinking about Jake. I know he won't give up easily. I need to face him, but I'm scared." Eli took her hand, his grip reassuring. "It's normal to be scared, but you have to take control of your life. You can't let him dictate your future." Clara nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I know. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I want to stand up for what I've built here." Eli smiled, pride shining in his eyes. "Then let's make a plan. We can lure him into a trap. We know he'll come back. We just need to be ready." Clara felt a spark of hope. "What do you have in mind?" Eli explained his idea. They would set up a false trail leading away from the ranch, making it seem like Clara was fleeing. When Jake and his gang followed, they would be waiting for them, ready to defend what was theirs. "I like it," Clara said, her confidence growing. "We can use the terrain to our advantage. Jake won't expect us to fight back this way." "Exactly," Eli agreed. "We'll show him that we're not afraid and that we're stronger together." They spent the following days preparing for the trap. Clara felt a sense of purpose as they worked side by side. She was no longer just a runaway outlaw. She was a partner, determined to protect her new life. As they set the plan in motion, Clara felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She knew this was her chance to confront her past and take control of her future. On the day of their plan, Clara and Eli worked together to create the false trail. They moved quickly, knowing that time was of the essence. As they finished, Clara felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. They were ready. That night, they took their positions, hiding in the trees near the trail. Clara's heart raced as she waited for the sound of horses. She could feel the tension in the air, and every rustle of leaves made her jump. Finally, they heard the distant sound of hooves approaching. Clara's breath caught in her throat. This was the moment she had been preparing for, and she had to stay strong. As the gang rode closer, Clara could make out their silhouettes in the moonlight. Jake was leading the group, his confidence evident. Clara exchanged a glance with Eli, who gave her a reassuring nod. They were ready. Jake's gang followed the false trail, unaware of the trap waiting for them. Clara could see the moment they realized they had been led into a trap. Panic swept over their faces. "Now!" Eli shouted, and they sprang into action. Clara felt her heart pounding as she charged forward alongside Eli. They had prepared for this, and they fought with all their strength. Clara moved with purpose, using all the skills she had learned. Eli covered her, firing shots to keep the gang at bay. Clara felt empowered, knowing she was not alone in this fight. They worked in sync, each anticipating the other's moves. "Clara!" Jake shouted, his voice filled with anger. "You think you can get away from me?" Clara's determination surged. "I'm not running anymore, Jake. This is my life now." With that, she moved toward him, pitchfork in hand. Jake's arrogance faltered as he realized she was ready to confront him. Clara felt a rush of power as she faced him directly. Jake lunged at her, but Clara sidestepped him. She had grown stronger, and she wasn't afraid to stand her ground. She struck back with the pitchfork, pushing him away. Eli handled the other men, his aim steady as he fought bravely. Clara could see that they were outnumbered, but she felt a fire in her heart. They were fighting for their lives, and she was ready to protect what she loved. With each clash, Clara grew more confident. She dodged blows and fought back fiercely. She was not just defending herself, she was defending her future with Eli. As the struggle continued, Clara spotted an opening. She moved swiftly, circling around Jake. With a determined swing, she hit him hard with the pitchfork, sending him stumbling back. Jake fell to the ground, his expression one of disbelief. "You think you've won?" he spat, anger boiling over. "I know I have," Clara replied, standing tall. "This is my life now, and you're not a part of it." With that declaration, she and Eli pushed back against the remaining gang members. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline as they fought together, side by side. They were unstoppable, united in purpose. As the last gang member fell to the ground, Clara felt a wave of triumph wash over her. They had done it. They had fought back and won. Eli was at her side, breathing heavily but smiling. "You were incredible, Clara." "We did it." Clara felt tears of relief fill her eyes. "We did it together, Eli. I couldn't have done it without you." As they stood together, victorious, Clara felt a sense of freedom. She had faced her past and emerged stronger. The weight of fear had lifted, and she was ready to embrace her future. In that moment, Clara knew she was no longer defined by her past as an outlaw. She was a survivor, ready to build a life filled with hope and love. With Eli by her side, she could face anything that came her way. Together, they would create a new beginning, one filled with promise and possibility. In the days following their victory over Jake and his gang, Clara and Eli worked to restore peace to their ranch. The fight had left its mark on both of them, but they were determined to move forward. They spent time cleaning up the barn and mending fences, turning their focus to rebuilding what had been damaged. Clara felt a sense of relief, but deep down, a part of her remained on edge. Jake had escaped, and she knew he would not simply accept defeat. The thought of him lurking nearby made her anxious. Each time she heard a rustle in the bushes or the sound of hooves in the distance, her heart raced. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Clara turned to Eli. "Do you think we'll see Jake again?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli looked out at the fading light, his expression thoughtful. "It's possible, but we'll be ready if he comes back. We faced him once, and we can do it again." Clara nodded, but doubt lingered in her mind. "I don't want to live in fear. I want to put this behind me." Eli turned to her, his eyes gentle. "I understand, but you also need to confront your past. You can't let it control you." Clara took a deep breath, trying to push her fears aside. "You're right. I need to face this head on. I can't let Jake have power over my life anymore." As the days passed, Clara and Eli prepared for the possibility of Jake's return. They reinforced their defenses and practiced their fighting skills. Clara felt a renewed sense of strength. She was no longer the scared outlaw. She was a woman ready to protect her home. One afternoon, as they were working in the fields, Clara spotted a cloud of dust on the horizon. Her heart sank. "Eli, look!" she shouted, pointing toward the approaching figure. Eli squinted against the sun. It could just be travelers. But as the figure drew closer, Clara recognized the silhouette. It was Jake, riding with a group of men. Panic surged through her. "He's back." Eli's expression turned serious. "We need to get ready. This time we'll be prepared." Clara felt a rush of adrenaline as they rushed back to the barn. They grabbed their weapons and took their positions, ready to defend their home. Clara's heart raced as she remembered the last fight. She was determined not to back down this time. The sound of hooves grew louder, and the gang rode into view. Clara could see Jake at the front, a smug look on his face. "You thought you could get away from me, Clara? You made a big mistake," he shouted. Clara stepped forward, her voice steady. "You're the one who made a mistake, Jake. This is my home now. You're not welcome here." Jake's smile faded as he surveyed the barn. "You think you can fight me again? You're outnumbered." Clara glanced at Eli, who stood beside her, his expression unwavering. "We're ready for you," she said, her confidence growing. "Let's show them what we're made of," Eli added, raising his weapon. With a battle cry, Jake and his men charged forward. Clara felt the adrenaline surge through her as she took her position. This was it, the moment she had been preparing for. The fight erupted, chaos unfolding around them. Clara felt fear and determination collide within her. She fought fiercely, using everything she had learned. Eli was at her side, covering her as they moved together. Clara struck out, her pitchfork finding its mark. She moved with purpose, dodging blows and pushing back against the gang. She could see Eli defending her, his aim steady as he took down attackers. But the numbers were against them. Clara felt the weight of their challenge as more men rushed in. She fought with all her strength, refusing to back down. "Stay close," Eli shouted, and Clara nodded, keeping her focus on the fight. They worked in sync, anticipating each other's moves. As the struggle continued, Clara noticed Jake trying to maneuver around them. She knew he was dangerous and would stop at nothing to defeat her. Jake lunged at her, but Clara was ready. She sidestepped his attack and swung her pitchfork with all her might. The weapon connected, and Jake stumbled back, surprise etched on his face. "You think you can defeat me?" he shouted, anger boiling over. "You're just a nobody." Clara felt a surge of power. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, Jake. You don't control my life." With renewed strength, Clara charged at him. She could see the doubt creeping into his eyes. He was strong, but she had something he lacked: determination. As they fought, Eli kept the other men busy. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline as she faced Jake head-on. She was no longer the scared outlaw. She was a woman fighting for her future. With one final swing of her pitchfork, Clara caught Jake off guard, knocking him to the ground. He looked up at her, fury and disbelief in his eyes. "Get out of here, Jake!" Clara shouted, her voice fierce. "You've lost. Leave now and never come back." Jake glared at her, but he could see the determination in her eyes. He pushed himself up and backed away, realizing he was defeated. "This isn't over, Clara," he spat before turning and fleeing with the remaining gang members. As the dust settled and the sound of hose faded into the distance, Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had done it. They had faced Jake and won again. Eli rushed to her side, breathing heavily but smiling. "You were amazing, Clara. I knew you could do it." Clara felt tears of relief fill her eyes. "We did it together, Eli. I couldn't have done it without you." As they stood together, victorious once more, Clara felt a sense of freedom. She had faced her past and emerged stronger. She was ready to embrace her future, knowing that with Eli by her side, they could face anything. Together, they had fought for their lives and their love, and Clara knew she was finally free from the shadows of her past. She was ready to build a life filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. In the days following their victory over Jake and his gang, Clara and Eli worked to restore the ranch. The fight had left them both weary, but it had also brought them closer together. Clara felt a sense of freedom she had never known before. She was finally ready to leave her past behind. As they cleaned up the barn, Clara looked around at the life they were building. The sun shone brightly through the open door, illuminating the space with warmth. She smiled at Eli, who was busy stacking hay bales. "We did it," Clara said, her voice filled with joy. "We faced Jake, and we won." Eli paused and turned to her, a proud smile on his face. "We did. And now we can focus on what really matters." Clara nodded, feeling a swell of happiness. They had fought hard for their home, and now it was time to create a new beginning. "I want to open the ranch to the community," she said suddenly. "I want to help others who have lost their way, just like I did." Eli's eyebrows raised in surprise. "That's a great idea. We could offer a safe place for people in need. It could be a fresh start for everyone." Clara felt excitement bubbling within her. "Yes, we can host gatherings, teach skills, and create a sense of belonging. I want this ranch to be a place of hope." Over the next few weeks, Clara and Eli worked tirelessly to prepare for their new venture. They repaired the barn, painted the walls, and set up areas for activities. Clara felt a sense of purpose as they transformed the space. She was not just building a ranch, she was building a community. As they worked, Clara shared her vision with Eli. "I want to invite people from nearby towns. We can host a grand opening and show them what we've created." Eli nodded, fully supportive. "That sounds perfect. We can make it a day of celebration, bringing people together." Clara felt a rush of excitement as they planned the event. She reached out to local families, sharing her idea and inviting them to the ranch. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and Clara felt hopeful for the future. On the day of the grand opening, the sun shone brightly in the sky. Clara stood at the entrance of the ranch, her heart racing with anticipation. She wore a simple dress, feeling both nervous and excited. Eli stood beside her, his hand clasped in hers. "Are you ready?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with encouragement. Clara took a deep breath and nodded. "I am. This is a new beginning for all of us." As guests began to arrive, Clara felt her nerves ease. Families came with smiles, bringing food and laughter. The ranch was alive with energy, filled with hope and possibility. Clara and Eli welcomed everyone, showing them around the property. Clara felt pride swell in her heart as she watched people connect and share stories. The ranch was becoming a place of belonging, just as she had envisioned. Throughout the day, Clara shared her journey with others. She was open about her past, speaking of her struggles and how she had found her way to this new life. People listened, inspired by her strength. As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone together for a moment of reflection. "Thank you all for being here today," she said, her voice steady. "This ranch is not just a place, it's a community. We can support each other, share our skills, and create a brighter future together." The crowd erupted in applause, and Clara felt tears of joy fill her eyes. She looked at Eli, who smiled back at her, pride shining in his gaze. They had built something special together. After the gathering, Clara and Eli stood on the porch, watching the stars begin to twinkle in the evening sky. The ranch was filled with laughter and warmth, and Clara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. "I can't believe how far we've come," Clara said, leaning against the porch railing. "I never imagined I could create something like this." Eli wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "You did this, Clara. You fought for your future, and now you're helping others find theirs." Clara smiled, feeling grateful for his support. "I couldn't have done it without you, Eli. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." They stood in comfortable silence, taking in the beauty of the night. Clara felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced her fears, confronted her past, and emerged stronger on the other side. As the night wore on, Clara's heart swelled with hope. She was ready to embrace her new life, free from the shadows of her past. With Eli by her side, she felt empowered to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue to build their ranch into a haven for those in need. Clara knew that love and community could heal even the deepest wounds. She was ready to take on the world, a survivor with a purpose. In that moment, Clara realized that her story was not just about survival, it was about thriving. She had found her place, and she was ready to embrace the life she had always dreamed of. With Eli by her side, she looked out at the horizon, filled with hope for the future and the promise of a new beginning.